Hello, welcome to the Self-Learning Podcast by Dr. Sushma Singh. Let us start discussion on Unit 26, Ethnicity and Nation State. Our topic is Perspectives to Study Ethnicity. How do the people sharing common attributes of culture, language, religion within a particular territorial limits or even cutting across different regions from a ethnic group as distinct from such other groups? There are basically three perspectives to explain this question: the primordial, the instrumentalist, and the perspective, which combines the trait of both the primordial and the instrumentalist. According to the primordial approach, the ethnic differences among the people are given, they are inherited by them. These differences are bound to take the form of ethnic conflict between the groups. The advocates of the instrumentalist approach believe that the ethnic differences are not given, they are created by the elite, who could be politicians, teachers, religious leaders, etc. The latter manipulate the social cleavages or differences for the attainment of their goal. The social cleavages which might be existing together in harmony despite their differences are translated by the elite into the ethnic differences. In particular context, the ethnic differences culminate in the form of ethnic conflicts, riots, autonomy movements, or even insurgency. The basis of social cleavages which are turned into ethnic groups are not always real. Some of these are even invented or constructed by the elite. The third perspective believes that both these perspectives, primordial and the instrumentalist, are unable to explain the issue of ethnicity. They divide the issue into bipolarity. It advocates the combination of both these approaches. Its advocates argues that the primordial approach does not explain how people share commonness, get activated into ethnic groups. Similarly, the instrumentalist approach does not explain why people sharing common attributes respond to the call of the elite, which manipulate them into the ethnic group. Now let us move to the next point: manifestation of ethnicity. The understanding that the ethnicity will take a back seat in the face of the development which would follow as a result of the Mahalanobis model, boosting the process of nation-state building, was contested soon. Much before the result of the model became visible, the premise on which it was based was questioned. It was argued that such a model of nation building ignored the smaller nationalities in the country. It was an imposition on them. Their identities, culture, histories, and aspirations were neglected. This model of nation-state building was antithetical to their interest. The advocates of this perspective protested against the nationalist perspective, started with the revolt of the Naga in the northeast. It spread to Tamil Nadu in the south and Punjab and Jammu Kashmir in the north. Ethnic challenge to the nation building continued in almost all parts of the country since then. on the lines of caste, religion, reason, language, tribe, etc. While a single attribute could be the most visible marker in the formation of ethnic identity, it has been the combination of more than one which actually had provided the basis for it. Similarly, Hindu rightist forces were challenged. Its critics argued that the India is not a nation state, it is a multinational state. Paul R. Brass, in fact, argued that though in practice the national level Indian policy makers followed the Mahalanobis model, they had accepted in principle the pluralist characteristics, different linguistic, religious, and other minorities of the country in terms of its policies. This sort of pluralism was accepted in the national level policies only, but the state government often followed discriminatory and assimilative policies towards the minorities. To project that India is nation state is virtually a denial of the existence of the pluralism and the diversities in the country. The ethnic challenge to the nation building or nation state building took the following shapes in India: autonomy movements, demand for succession, insurgency, and conflicts and riots on the basis of identity makers, tribe, caste, language, religion, etc. First three forms of ethnic manifestation are also called self-determination movements. It needs to be noted that these forms of manifestation do not follow a uniform sequence of occurrence in the country. It might start with one form and assume another form in different situations. From the 1950s onward, the conflicts based on these have been common in various regions of the country. In fact, Slick S. Harrison termed the first 2 decades following the independence as the most dangerous decades, referring to the linguistic or communal conflict which took place in the country at that time. Very often, such conflicts in the states were rooted in the local situations. The linguistic reorganization of states created the states on the basis of some common linguistic traits, but there continued the conflict on the basis of religion, native immigrant dichotomy, dialect, linguistic controversy in many parts of the country. Demand for the autonomy within states and for the succession from the country cropped up. These often resulted in violence, while in the case of the autonomy movements, insurgency and secessionist movement, the main targets of the protagonist is the state agencies, specially identified with the central government. Quite often, this also involves the ethnic conflict or riots between different communities in a region. But if it is a conflict or riot on the basis of language, religion, caste, tribal identity, it is mainly between different groups. In such cases, the state agencies can be perceived as being partisan to a particular community or be really so as against the other. The scholars have, however, noticed that the secessionist tendencies in India have existed along with the nationalist sentiments. Now let us wind up the session and take rest. Thank you very much for engaging yourself with the Self Learning podcast.